When someone chooses to ignore you, it's not just a pause in conversation. It's a spotlight on truth. Their silence isn't empty. It's a scream, sharp and revealing, exposing what words often hide. It lays bare their priorities, their courage, their willingness to face the raw discomfort of real connection. That sting of being overlooked, deliberately passed over when honesty could have bridged the gap. It hurts. It cuts deep, especially when you know they could have chosen to speak, to engage, to show up. But that silence is a message, louder than any argument, clearer than any excuse. It tells you how they see you, how they value the bond you share, and whether they're ready to stand in the messy, beautiful truth that genuine relationships demand. It's a mirror, reflecting not your worth, but their readiness, or lack of it, to meet you where you stand. Most people think silence is neutral, a harmless absence of noise. But silence as avoidance carries a weight heavier than words. It's a choice, deliberate and telling, that reveals character in ways comfort never can. True character doesn't shine when life is easy, when everyone's smiling and the path is smooth. It surfaces when things get jagged, when emotions clash, when egos bruise, when hard truths demand to be faced. That's when you see who someone really is. Ask yourself, what does it say when someone retreats into silence instead of stepping into the hard conversation? It says they might lack the courage to handle honesty. It says they'd rather hide than navigate the discomfort that real relationships require. It says they're not ready for the depth you're offering, the vulnerability you're willing to give. And yes, that realization can shatter your heart, especially when you held them close, believed they cared as fiercely as you did. But buried in that pain is a gift you can't afford to miss. Clarity. Clarity, even when it stings, is a kind of freedom. It pulls back the curtain, showing you who they are, not who you hoped they'd be. Picture this. You're standing in a room, the air heavy with unspoken words. You've poured your heart into a connection, given your time, your energy, your trust. But now, there's nothing, just silence, cold and unyielding. Your phone stays dark, your messages unanswered, your questions met with a void. It feels like rejection, like a verdict on your worth. Your mind spins, replaying every word, every moment, searching for what you did wrong. But what if that silence isn't about you? What if it's a window into them? Their fears, their limits, their inability to face the truth. Their silence doesn't diminish you. It reveals them. It shows you where they stand, not where you belong. And in that moment, you're handed a choice. To chase their approval, to beg for their words, or to step back and reclaim your power. To let their silence push you toward yourself, toward the truth that your value was never tied to their attention. This is where the real work begins. When someone ignores you, it's easy to internalize it, to let their silence whisper, "You're not enough." But what if you flipped that lie on its head? What if you saw their absence as proof of your strength, a call to stand taller in your own truth? Their silence isn't a measure of your worth. It's a mirror reflecting their choices. And in that reflection, you're given a chance to see yourself more clearly. You're forced to confront the parts of you that crave validation, that bend too far to keep others close, that shrink to fit their expectations. That silence becomes a crucible, burning away the illusions you've clung to. It asks you, why do you feel unworthy when someone pulls away? Why do you measure your value by their presence? What would happen if you poured that energy back into yourself, into your dreams, your purpose, your peace? Real relationships take courage. They demand that we stand before each other, hearts open, flaws exposed, ready to speak truths that might sting but are necessary. They ask us to admit when we're wrong, to sit with feelings that make us squirm, to show up even when it's hard. When someone chooses silence instead, they're telling you they're not ready for that depth. They're showing you they'd rather retreat than face the vulnerability that connection requires. And that's not your burden to carry. You don't have to fix their silence, chase their answers, or prove your worth to someone who's already checked out. Their absence is their lesson to learn, their growth to pursue, or not. Your power lies in what you do next. Do you keep pouring your heart into a connection that doesn't reciprocate? Or do you pull back, redirect that energy, and invest it in relationships that lift you up, that honor your courage, that reflect your worth? Imagine standing at a crossroads, the silence stretching before you like a vast, uncharted plain. One path leads to chasing their approval, to begging for words they won't give. The other leads inward, to a quiet well of strength you didn't know you had. That second path is where transformation happens. It's where you learn to be your own anchor, your own compass, your own light. It's where you discover that you don't need their validation to feel whole. You don't need their words to know you're enough. You don't need their presence to keep moving forward. That silence, as painful as it feels, is an invitation to come home to yourself, to fill the quiet with your own voice, your own dreams, your own truth, to build a foundation so solid that no one's absence can shake it. Let's go deeper. When someone ignores you, it's not just a personal slight. It's a moment that reveals the world's unspoken rules. People will pull away when they're not ready to face themselves, let alone you. They'll hide behind silence when their own fears, insecurities, or unhealed wounds overwhelm them. Maybe they're wrestling with guilt they can't voice, shame they can't name, or truths they're not ready to confront. Their silence isn't about you. It's about them. And when you see that, you stop carrying their choices as your own. You stop letting their distance define your worth. You start asking better questions. What do I want from my life? What relationships lift me up? What dreams have I shelved to keep others comfortable? That silence becomes a gift, a chance to realign with your own path, to let go of connections that drain you and make space for those that nourish you. This isn't about closing your heart or building walls. It's about opening your eyes. It's about seeing people for who they are, not who you want them to be. It's about recognizing that you deserve relationships built on mutual respect, where effort flows both ways, where silence isn't a weapon but a bridge to deeper understanding. When someone ignores you, they're handing you a map, not to their heart, but to your own. They're showing you where to stop investing, where to redirect your energy, where to set boundaries that protect your peace. And that peace? It's not passive. It's not just candles and calm music. It's earned through hard choices, through saying no to what diminishes you, through walking away from what doesn't honor your worth. It's guarded by the courage to let go of people who choose silence over honesty, distance over dialogue. Picture a tree in winter, its branches bare, its roots deep in the earth. The world might call it lifeless, but it's not. It's shedding what it no longer needs, preparing for new growth. That's you in this season. Their silence is your winter, stripping away what doesn't serve you, making room for what will. It's teaching you to stand firm, to dig your roots deeper, to trust that your growth doesn't depend on their presence. And when you embrace that, you become magnetic. Not because you're chasing approval, but because you're living from a place of unshakable self-respect. You radiate a quiet confidence that doesn't need constant validation. You attract people who see you clearly, who meet you with honesty, who stay because they value you, not because you begged them to. But the world will test you. People will call your boundaries selfish, your strength cold, your silence distant. Let them. Their judgment isn't your truth. You don't owe explanations to those who can't see your worth. You don't owe your energy to those who take without giving. Your clarity is yours to protect, your heart yours to nurture. And when you prioritize that, you step into a freedom no one can touch. You stop living for their approval and start living for your purpose. You stop bending to fit their expectations and start standing tall in your truth. You stop waiting for their words and start speaking your own. Imagine standing on a cliff, the wind howling, the world below indifferent. No one's there to hold your hand. No one's there to call your name. But you're not crumbling. You're standing, chest open, eyes clear, heart steady. Because you've learned to be your own anchor. You've learned to trust your own voice. You've learned that your worth doesn't depend on who shows up. It depends on how you show up for yourself. That's the strength that carries you through silence, through rejection, through seasons of solitude. That's the strength that lets you rise. Not because the world lifted you, but because you lifted yourself. And when the storm passes, and it always does, you'll look back and see that their silence wasn't a verdict. It was a catalyst. It pushed you to find a strength you didn't know you had, to build a life that reflects your worth, to choose connections that honor your heart. You'll see that their absence didn't leave you empty. It left you free. Free to choose yourself, to pour your energy into what lights you up, to surround yourself with people who show up fully, who speak with honesty, who stay because they see you. And when you stand in that freedom, when you walk in that truth, the world will feel it. They'll see a fire in you that wasn't there before. They'll sense a peace that doesn't waver. They'll know you've been through something sacred, something that made you unbreakable. So the next time someone ignores you, don't chase their silence. Don't beg for their words. Let it be. Let it show you who they are. Let it remind you who you are. Use the quiet to build something solid within you, a foundation that no absence can shake, no rejection can crack. Become so rooted in your own worth that their silence becomes just a whisper, drowned out by the strength of your own voice. And when you do, you'll attract the kind of love, the kind of connection that doesn't leave you guessing, the kind that meets you where you stand, with open hearts and honest words, because you deserve nothing less. If this stirred something in you, if you felt the truth of your own worth rising, drop a 100 in the comments. Let me know you're one of the few who's ready to rise above the silence, to choose yourself, to build a life that honors your heart. Keep growing. Keep becoming. You're just getting started.